Hello, and welcome to Wyverns and Weirdos Fathomless, a D&D podcast set in the World of Fierlor. I'm your Dungeon Master Darby, and joining me as always are Eddie, playing Tibble, Mitch, playing Neris, Joe, playing Alton, Jake, playing the Fishman, and Laura, playing Rue. Let's jump into it. So, last time, the crew of the Polaris continued on their way to find the Lost Temple, a site of great historical importance to the Iascars and merfolk who call the Ferrisk Isle home. While traveling, Rue experimented with Janice's sea glass stones, leading to a mysterious vision coming to the Anamdor in the night, presumably from Janice's patron, the sea-based demigod Shognesh. In the morning, Alton confronted Rue, accusing them of being a danger to the ship due to their outbursts of wild magic. Rue called out Alton's possible hypocrisy here, suggesting that their presence is just as dangerous in the wake of the ambush in Uncathair. Meanwhile, Neris spent time working on a spell that would allow him to delve into his memories, allowing him to view or relive them so that he could glean any additional clues from Janice's quarters. As the ship neared its destination, Alton and the Fishman found their attention drawn to the water as a large, hulking, four-armed humanoid climbed onto the deck, trident in hand, and said, "You're in our waters." Something worth noting, most of you would recognize this creature as a 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, and these are by no means 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 waters. These are very much the ancestral waters of, in this region of the Ferrisk Isles, the Iascars. Anyone who wishes to roll a history check to get anything more in depth on the 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, but the tales that you all would have heard is that they live out in regions of the Pactless Isles, though once in a while bands of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 will encroach on the homelands of other sea-dwelling folks and try to take them over. Also worth noting, something in my notes that has not been mentioned so far, as you don't know the location of the temple, your destination is a rendezvous point in Asildar, where you are to meet up with some of the clergy who were once charged with maintaining the temple. From where you are, those of you with a passive perception above a 13 can probably see the small island on the near horizon. So, unless anyone wants to make a history check, we pick it up from there.
Neris very much would like to make a history check.
Okay, history check for me, please.
That's very good. That's a 26.
Okay, 26 is enough to get both of the little pieces I have written down here. So, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 society in the Isles tends to be hierarchical, and those in charge tend to be very narcissistic, believing that their domain extends to the entirety of the ocean, even when they have no history in a region. Additionally, rumors persist from the Iascar and merfolk in the region, in the rest of the Isles, that the Lost Temple was abandoned after the clergy who tended to it were either slaughtered or driven away. How do folks react to this hulking 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧?
Well, Fishman did ring the bell as soon as he saw it, so hopefully everyone's pen hut.
Tibble was already on deck. How many of these 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 have boarded so far?
Thus far, it's only the one. One
okay.
Big one, towering over even Rue and the Fishman.
So the tiny Captain Clover, he scurries forward. Good afternoon. Tibble Clover at your service. Apologies, we didn't mean to intrude on your waters. Is there any chance that this is something we can discuss? Didn't mean to take any offense, Mr. I'm not familiar with your race.
Prince Wade.
Prince 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧.
Oh, and Timo bows lowly. Prince 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, I beg your pardon. We may wish to discuss maybe a trade or a pass-through. We don't wish to disturb you, we're just passing through.
What is your destination, landwalker?
We're headed for Asildar. Have a few, errands we have to do there.
That hive of sniveling cowards. You have business with them?
Of a sorts. We're mostly just traveling through.
Roll me a persuasion check.
That's not too bad. That's a 19.
You may pass. But you should do well to avoid these waters.
Apologies for intruding on your day. And thank you for your dealings. If we can be on our way, we'll be past these waters and we'll be wary in future.
Best be. And he jumps, doing a dive into the water off the side of the ship.
Crew, onwards! Let's get out of these waters. Quick, smart.
And the ship continues on towards the island of Asildar.
Nicely handled there, Captain.
Tibble's still kind of panting, and he's got his, hands on his little mouse knees, and he's like, I thought you lot were tall.
Yeah, this crew and the people we meet keep being just unfairly told it's true.
Something tells me that won't be the last we hear from that prince.
Well, it has to be the last time we encounter them, because you promised them we were passing through.
Let's just say that royal family tends to claim a lot as being their waters, which may not necessarily be so, but I personally did not want to stir waters with a hostile force and perhaps upset our rightful hosts before we arrive.
So, it's probably going to take a little under an hour to finish the journey to Asildar itself. So, is there anything folks want to do in that time?
Neris, now that he's come out, and it should be noted that he came out on hearing the bell in a little bit of a hurry, and was still, as he essentially emerged onto the deck, you can see him putting a handkerchief or a piece of cloth into his pocket, which the keen-eyed of you will notice has a little bit of blood that he's just wiped from the end of his nose that he puts into his pocket. He returns back to his study, packs up everything that he had out, and he's going to look at a couple of notes that he's just sort of written, just in scribbled hand on his desk, and he's going to take a couple of them and read them and then pocket them. And then he's going to make his way to where he thinks he can find
Sia has the medical cabinet.
That's what she takes as her office. She also sleeps there.
Then yeah, I would just sort of gently knock on the door and get their attention.
Sia, as you would know, Neris, having been on the ship for a fair while, is a fair bit of a recluse and a fair bit odd. And she's only been on the ship for a year, and you've seen her maybe a handful of times, had an interaction with her longer than just in passing. And so you feel this odd sort of tickle on your brain, and then after a moment, you hear very light footsteps, and the door swings open. And you see this tall, pale-skinned woman with long, flowing dark hair, very flowy, light-coloured robes. And you hear, "Yes, come, enter." As you enter the medical cabin, you've been here maybe a couple of times, but every single time it never fails to overwhelm you just how much it should not be a medical cabin. There's a number of bizarre druidic and religious tomes, decorative pieces, a large amount of roosting doves on a tree that is growing in the corner that you can't quite tell where the tree begins and the ship ends. And they're these snowy white doves, and every now and then you will see mice and rats running from place to place. There is a desk that has a bunch of different cluttered herbs and writings, and there's also this round bed that is draped in like a sheer silvery curtain. She sits down quite relaxed on the bed and she's like, "How can I help you, Neris?"
I'm not entirely sure if you can, but it's a good opportunity to try. Firstly, for business sakes, we are arriving shortly at our destination.
Where would that be?
You're not aware of what our current mission is?
No.
You've not paid attention to the briefings?
No.
The blood begins to trickle down Neris' nose again, which Neris doesn't really pay any mind to.
That's nice. Do you require healing, Neris?
I think I do.
Come. She motions for you to come forward. She is like laying half on her side on this bed, like leaning up, and does not make an attempt to sit up.
And Neris will walk forward.
She reaches up without asking and tugs Neris forward a bit by his hand. And she actually, before doing anything, turns his palm over and she looks at his palm. You have had dreams of late, yes?
I have.
And then you feel this sort of warmth glow through your hand as she does. She'll do a second level heal wounds, and so you get healed for 17 points.
Neris will feel that. It's a familiar warmth, but still odd to him.
I will also note that the feeling of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧's magic, it feels intrusive on the brain. Now, you in particular, Neris, you would have done the background checks of most of the more recent hires, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 being one of them, and you would know that 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, while appearing human mostly, is actually a dream touch, which is basically the Fierlor equivalent of a 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧.
So Neris is going to feel that odd healing spirit sort of cleanse some of the damage that he's done to himself this morning. And he'll kind of almost involuntarily twitch at the tugging on the brain that he feels. You mentioned dreams. Have you noticed, or has anyone else come to you regarding dreams?
Many things have come to me, Neris. Are you asking about your dreams?
I am able to decipher my own dreams. What I am curious about, though, have you perceived anything as of late that you believe to be not of your own mind, potentially dangerous to yourself or the people you serve with?
I can show you.
You would show me your own vision. Very well. Show me these visions.
A very odd thing begins to happen to you. It feels very different from, I guess, anything that you've felt before, as 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 begins to mind link with you. Your understanding of the way that she is communicating with you within this is more through an understanding or an innate understanding of the things that she is presenting to you. The first thing that you see is just an image of the sea and of several doves being released. And you recognize this as a memory of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 of sending off some very unimportant messages, or what she would believe to be unimportant. And you hear in your mind her sort of shift some things around. And you see a few days ago, you see a large beast, almost godlike in nature. And it takes you a moment because you're seeing this through 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧's perception. And the creature feels angry, but not at 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧. And then you realize that 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 mind melded with the dragon turtle. And then you, in particular, 𝗔𝗏𝗧, realize very quickly that 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 did not get any information that was helpful, nor that mattered.
𝗔𝗏𝗧 does sort of be a little bit more confused at the start, and then on seeing and understanding the connection that took place, just nods.
When 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 feels your understanding, she slowly withdraws.
Well, thank you very much for this conversation. Before I leave, is there anything you need or wish to report about any interactions that you've had with the crew, both medically or spiritually?
Yes, actually. I think that Alton is a little shy about me. Maybe developing crush. Alton does not come to me with health issues due to his fancy for me.
As she says this, you hear a knock at the door.
He has been summoned.
He just kind of like thuds his he just like one last knock that's just kind of like a thud against the doors, and then he'll swing the door open.
𝗔𝗏𝗧, you would hear feel more in your mind an understanding of a come back anytime and you're welcome. And a nice to see you.
Alton just kind of standing there still, looking at 𝗔𝗏𝗧, who probably still has blood on his nose, who has been sitting with 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, and he just looks absolutely betrayed for a moment. 𝗔𝗏𝗧, yes, I was going to check up on you. Okay. Good to see you. Glad you're well.
That is one word for it. Well, good morning. And 𝗔𝗏𝗧 will walk out.
Alton just kind of like watches him leave. See, your office is as unkempt as ever. Wonderful medical practice, isn't it? He starts like looking through like the patient's notes as he's talking, and he's like, you know, I actually I read a study the other day. You know, one of those ones from those big fancy medical academies and everything. And they've proven that, you know, using magical healing on Fathomless is actually very detrimental in the long run. Interesting, isn't it? Yes, you know, when people are just going around overusing magical healing and not the more scientific forms, people don't develop resistances to certain diseases. They run rampant in society. And then more people end up dying as the diseases go stronger. Saw that happen myself, actually. Probably could have known that without all the studies, you know. All the rich people in Fathomless were all buying off all the clerics all the time, and the druids and all those other kinds of healers. So they caught diseases constantly, which grew more and more strong, and then all of us poor folks ended up dying from them. Interesting.
Fascinating. You talk when you are nervous.
Really? Oh, you know everything about me, do you?
Not at all, Alton. I in fact know you quite little. You never visit.
Well, I don't find much need to visit. I think my clinic is going quite well.
You mean the kitchen?
My side job is going fine too. Just looking through, I see you didn't update on whatever was wrong with... No, you didn't write anything about what was wrong with Neris.
Neris's conflict is more of heart and mind.
Wonderful. Well, I was looking to send a very important letter. Unfortunately, carrier pigeons, doves, those of the sort would take many months to reach my destination. Do you have any, little magic things to kind of speed up the process or anything? If you can't get the job done, then that's all right. I just thought I'd check. I'll see what we can do at the next port we stop in.
There are many other spellcasters on this ship, Alton. I do quite enjoy that you found an excuse to come talk to me, though.
He just looks disgusted. Believe me, I try to avoid it.
Oh, I believe you. You do not have to be shy with me, Alton. It is okay for strong feelings to amass when you are trapped on boats such as this. But I need you to know that while I am flattered, and while you may be still unpacking the feelings you have inside you,
Sorry.
I'm only attracted to women.
Are you actually being serious right now? Where did you... Oh, I'm not attracted to women at all, so you've got no worries on that point, and I would...
Interesting. If it is comfort you seek, child, I can provide it, even if you need to be harsh to find it. She gives you just this very fond and warm smile.
Alton just gives you just this kind of deadpan, irritated look. Alright, great. Fun chat as always. Alright, you continue not doing your job. Enjoy having it while it lasts. I'll go and see if I can find someone to deliver the letter.
Be seeing you.
Okay, so eventually you reach this island that strangely looks quite bare, other than a small boarding house, although it looks quite large compared to the island itself. Most of you, other than probably Rue, would be aware that this is an onboarding point for the true civilization of Asildar, which is actually based underwater. So who would be taking a boat out to Asildar itself to make the rendezvous? Fishman, I see.
Chibble would find Rue and be like, I know there's been a bit of excitement these past couple of days, lad, so I completely understand if you don't wish to come along, but I believe that Neris is joining us to see this great city, and there may be a great amount that you may learn out of it.
The crew have been saying that there is a city underneath the water.
Aye, lad. There most certainly is.
It's fascinating.
Pardon me asking, but will you be functional underwater?
Luckily, I have had past experience. I can move underwater, and I don't need to breathe.
Oh, perfect. So, you'll likely fare better than most of us then.
Perhaps so. You must be very good at holding your breath. I would love to come along and observe, if I may. Lead the way, Captain Tibble.
As everyone is starting to make their way onto the little boat that's next to the Polaris, Neris is going to catch Alton off to the side. As Neris does when he's trying to sort of be like, oh, we're just wandering around, oh, look, a person's here. What? Who would have guessed that? But it's very direct. Alton, will you be joining us on the island?
I don't rightly know, because I was just going to see if the captain wanted me there.
Well, I will leave that decision up to the captain then, if that is your will, but then Neris will kind of look around and make sure there's no one, super close. If you wouldn't mind if you are able to just very quickly give me just a small amount of healing?
Oh, yes, of course. What's wrong? No, still not good.
Neris starts to say what happened and then stops himself very quickly. I had an accident this morning.
Natural?
I hurt my brain. I'd very much like it to not hurt anymore.
Okay. Did you hit your head, or were you just...
Something hit my head.
Right. Okay, I'll do an examination. And he'll just start, going through, I guess, neurological things, or just, asking further questions.
So there's no physical damage other than the fact that his nose was bleeding a little while ago. And there's a little bit of dried blood that he's wiped out a little bit, but it's still there.
Are you actually down any HP?
No.
I don't know, yeah, Alton is just trying to go through a couple of things. Maybe they'll give you a painkiller if you need it. It's there we go, I think you're all good. Let me know if anything's still wrong.
Perfect. I feel better already. Thank you very much for your skill.
No, of course, anytime. I will always do my very best. Just to be the medic, that is.
Of course you will.
It's so fun.
And content, Neris will wander onto the longboat that we have.
Ah, yes. There you are, Neris. I have a favor to ask. I am after some ingredients, some components, if you will. If you happen to find upon them before I do, could you please maybe require some for me? And he gives you a list, but he will also say, I am after some magical ink and spell ingredients, specifically these ones. And you'll see down the bottom with a whole bunch of working out and scribble, the working out to eventually lead to 150 GP.
Perfect. Well, Neris will open his mouth to sort of question something, see the calculations down the bottom, do a couple of little mental notes to figure out if the calculations are correct, and then we'll close his mouth, give a nod, fold the paper, put it in his vest that he has.
If you feel like it'll put you out, I can give you some funds now, but I will pay you back.
Perfect. That is all I need.
Cool. And then, he'll pat him on the back, and then he'll board the boat with the others. And if everyone's on, he'll probably be the one to start lowering it.
Tibble, just before the boat starts to be lowered, he calls out to Alton, who I can only assume is skulking emo-ly. Alton, lad, are you not coming?
Oh, I guess so.
In the boat.
Oh, okay, sure.
Top.
And he'll hop on in. And he'll probably be look at his letter and be oh yeah, okay. I can do that.
Can't do it without our field medic, can we?
No, of course. I mean, there can be danger around any free time.
Perfect. I think you'll like this.
As Dalton climbs into the boat, Rue's lamplight eyes bore directly into him, but considering their earlier conversation, they look very cramped as a 7-foot-tall thing in a boat.
So Tibble looks pretty excited and grins up conspiratorially at the fishman, and then turns to the other three where they're sitting in the boat as the fishman starts lowering the boat in conjunction with the crew deck. Well, you three are in for an absolute delight.
This is true. I just hope you don't all drown down there. Minus you, of course, Rue.
Fishman, you hope that Rue drowns? That's not very polite.
He misinterprets, but that is okay. And he will find what animals swimming around at the moment.
I'm going to safely assume fish.
Roll me a perception check.
Perception. That is not the best. That is a 17.
From where you are, best you can see a variety of fish.
He will dive his head into the water off the side of the boat, and he will try and get the attention of some of the fish. And if any do come towards him, he's going to try and talk to them. Tell your friends, and I know these can be quite troublesome waters, especially at times like these, as we've experienced. If you see danger, tell your friends to swarm on them, make splashes, noises, and help will find your way, especially around this ship. With the direct intent of making it more obvious if someone's trying to sneak aboard the ship.
Roll me an animal handling, I guess.
Oh, I'm so lucky with these ones. So that is not too bad, actually. That is a 22, I believe.
Okay. There seems to be an understanding. And it goes, swim, and swims off.
Cool. Fishman, flicks his head out of the water, trying not to wet everyone around him, but, it's inevitable.
Tibble gets drenched.
And, he'll start rowing.
And while we're rowing out, Rue kind of looks very pensively towards the water and goes, "Seek." As they stare down into the depths of the ocean as we row along.
As you reach the small island of Asildar, you see a Iascar figure. The Iascar is much more like what you would expect of a traditional idea of a Triton. So very blue-green skin, green hair. This one in particular has a fabulous green moustache and is dressed quite well and is a little portly and has a bit of a jovial demeanor to him. But kind of cracking through that jovial demeanor, a sense of urgency, you might say? Concern? Not sure. But as you step onto the island, he says, "Ah, I take it you are the crew that was sent by the heads of the Hydra?"
Tibble steps forward and he does a deep bow, like the one he did for the prince who boarded their ship, but more genuine. And then once he kind of stands up, he reaches up a tiny paw and he's like, "Captain Tibble Clover, it is truly a pleasure to make your acquaintance."
"It is a pleasure to meet you, Captain Tibble. I am Mayor Keres Zoransath. Which of you, may I ask, are capable of sustaining yourselves without air, surface air?"
Fishman raises his hand.
"Me, sir. Pleasure to make your acquaintance."
"Pleasure. All right. So 3 of you. I'm sad to say these aren't long-lasting solutions, but..." And he produces from a small pouch 3 what look like... if you've ever seen those the water puddings, where it's like a little edible bubble, and he hands one to each of you, Tibble, Neris, Alton. "These will allow you to breathe in our city for 4 hours."
That is most kind of you. Thank you very much.
"It is the least I could do for what you are helping our people with. If you could consume them, I will lead you to those who would discuss matters with you."
Tibble scarfs down his water pudding.
Might I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Is there a matter of urgency with this, or do you mind if we have a look around?
I would prefer that we would discuss business before you took to looking around. Neris and Alton, do you consume the water puddings?
If the need is there, we shall. Or Neris shall.
I think Alton will be looking at with like extreme trepidation, and we definitely like see what's happening to Tibble, keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
And just kind of like inspecting it and just, not feeling great about this.
There are no negative effects on Tibble.
Probably before eating it, he'd probably just like go to Nurse and be like, do you know exactly what this thing is? I'm not really familiar with magic that you eat.
Neris has an understanding of what this is, but does he understand like the actual magical construction of this thing? Like, how confident does Neris sound when he's talking to Alton, essentially?
Roll me an Arcana check.
It's a 12. Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. You wouldn't be able to produce one of these yourself, but the theory is not all that different to that of magical potions.
Yeah. Neris is going to attempt to make Alton feel better, saying, the level of magic that I can do to make something like this is far more extreme than the magic which is contained within this thing. It is much more basic and mundane than my typical magic. If that helps.
Right, so simple charms, right? Bottoms up, I guess. I think you probably want to also, I don't think any of you have ever witnessed Alton eat before. He's always eaten privately. He's never eaten in like the mess hall or anything. So, very carefully he'll eat this thing. I think not looking very comfortable.
And Neris will down it.
Yes.
Rue just watches everyone do this, and they seem to be like putting a lot of attention to kind of like fastening their hat around themselves, and also just like fidgeting with some kind of like hinge that's where the mask is, with some anxiety, but they're just ready and waiting.
Yeah. And so Chera says, right, if you follow me, and dives into the water.
Cool.
Underwater level.
Cool.
Underwater level. Underwater level. Underwater level.
Fishman goes in last and will silently judge everyone's diving performance.
If anyone wants to roll for it, either performance or acrobatics.
I'm going to
Right
roll
now,
performance because
no.
it's worse. That's a 6.
21.
Where's my nat one? Good thing you went last so no one could see.
Alright.
Just full belly flops in.
Yeah. Cannonball.
For anyone who's watching, Neris kind of like waddles up to the water and kind of like crouches low and then just sort of scoots in on his butt.
This all makes so much sense.
As you all follow Keres down to an ornate city, well built, mostly stone and mud structures, but with plenty of mithril and occasional gems, creating the more ornate filigree of certain buildings, particularly the more important and well-to-do ones. Keres leads you through, in particular, to a building that seems to resemble a temple. When you reach it, you are greeted by a Triton figure and 2 merfolk. So the Triton figure is introduced to you as Father Vorvis Agarath, the leader of the temple here. He says, "May Shognesh be with you on this blessed day that you have arrived to aid us. This is Sister Ashera and the feminine merfolk. It is a pleasure to meet you, surface folk. And this is Acolyte Alda and the other merfolk of indeterminate gender from their appearance. Ways at you. Greetings. So, would you like to venture inside our temple here to discuss matters?"
That'd be most kind of you to host us.
So you follow the ultimately 4 folk in, and you are guided to a room at the back where there is a table set out and a stone tablet map with mithril inlay on top of the table. It is a little heavy, but as you might understand, paper would not hold the purposes down here. This will at least stay on the surfaces. Those of you with at least a passive perception of 10 would very quickly identify that this map is not for this temple. This is the map, to the best of our recollections, of our former temple, the one that has since been overrun by a 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 warband.
Ah, it be the Sahugans
Yes.
that have overrun the temple, you say?
Yes. Many of our young acolytes were slaughtered in their takeover.
Aye, we had quite an interesting encounter on our way here with a young prince of the Sahugans.
They are an interesting folk. I hope that you were not given too much trouble.
That will be our problem to deal with as it arises, I suppose.
Of course, as much as we would like our temple back, we understand that these things are difficult and that it is very important to us that the mantle is important, that it should be recovered. This is an item of deep importance to our people. It's an artifact of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 himself.
𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, you say?
Aye.
We had a crew member. I can't currently go into specifics, but he was a follower of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, and if 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧's guidance can help lead us back to him, I'm sure any information you can provide may be appreciated after this.
Any worthy traveller can always find their way through the path and the waves of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧. If you have any questions, I would be more than delighted to answer what I can.
This relic, I know they come in all shapes and sizes. Is this something that can be easily retrieved? Do you have a description?
It is a mantle, a deep blue in colour, with trims of fine mithril carving out the depiction of waves. And the clasp is one depicting the holy symbol of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 himself.
We'll be sure to find it.
Apologies, the symbol of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 is...
So, yeah, it would probably be like almost like a compass point made from a tentacle in the depiction of a compass point from a map.
And this mantle, I'm sure it has most likely been moved, but where did you keep it?
It may be in the vestry.
I guess Elton will step forward and be like, sorry to ask something so ignorant and simple, but, what exactly is 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧? What do they preside over? Like, what does their worship entail?
Sea, the waves, the primordial water, the beasts of the sea. 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 is Lord of all that touches the waves. Now, I will be the first to admit 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 is not one of the first gods, one of the prime, or one of the usurpers, but they hold some significant level of divine power.
No, I think you may say we're a little surprised to find more worshippers of 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧. Yes, we were quite familiar with another worshipper previously, but he was also rather prone to tall tales, so it's interesting to get Shognesh's information corroborated. Yes, no, we'll do our best to see that we can get these invaders out of the temple. Do you know about how many of them there are? Is that a great force?
I'm not entirely sure, unless they have expanded their forces no more than 3 dozen. As I say, I understand it might be beyond your remit and beyond the pay you're being provided to return the temple to us, but it's vital that we are able to regain the mantle.
Tibble looks for a moment at his senior officers and Rue, and then he looks to Alton, and has been quite curiously, as Alton has been asking the certain questions that he has, and then making the suggestion that he has. Father Borvis, within our official capacity, we are here to retrieve the mantle. As far as disposing of those that have taken your temple from you, while I cannot guarantee that this is something that is fulfilled, in the event that this task is fulfilled, I think perhaps an exchange of...
I was just going to say, Neris is staring intently at you.
Perhaps an exchange of information will be sufficient payment.
The temple will be forever in your debt if you are able to return what was ours.
May I have a moment, if you don't mind, with my current land party?
Of course. Ashera, Alda. Volvus leads Ashera and Alda out, and Kira says, I believe he means to say, take the time you need. Just remember you only have 4 hours with the water breathing.
Oh, I fully intend on just having a quick chat and then getting back to you.
Of course. Wonderful. Wonderful. And Therese leaves the room as well.
Tibble looks very pensive, which is not something that often occurs with him. And then he kind of turns and looks up at you all. He's like, I'd like your honest thoughts.
Well, of course I am the least relevant, but I see no qualms in assisting here. Retrieving important item, it would be good to do. I feel for them. Those are my thoughts. Rue kind of like only like slightly turns their head towards Tibble and the rest of the group, and then they kind of like turn back to look at what I presume would be like a carving or something like that. Well, it would probably be of some multi-armed, multi-eyed, multi-mouthed thing, and just kind of keep staring up curiously at it because they're thinking about a dream they had. But that's the extent to which Rue responds.
In terms of the extracurricular, these people have obtained that land through dirty means. I believe it goes without saying that they are aware of the risks taking over other people's lands. If we were to handle it somewhat humanely, I see good in it. However, I don't necessarily feel good about the slaughter of all.
Of course, I guess I agree with Fishner, and they knew the risks that they were taking when they decided to attack. I guess it just depends on which approach we want to take. And if that's a fight that we think we could win.
I believe it would be in the best interest of many to take up on that.
I am not entirely certain we are, the heads of the Hydra, are the best group or company to deal with something like this. I do not like the potential outcomes for this. I think any attempt to reason with them has been made more difficult by our previous interaction with them. But we are still preparing for a fight, a war. I do not feel comfortable with this.
We have a reputation, do we not? We get the job done. That is the head of the Hydra's motto when you boil it down.
You like that motto?
It is
You
the motto
feel-
of a company that has given me home, that has given me support. If I don't feel some debt towards that, then I'm not quite sure what I feel.
If all of us owe something to, if not the Hydra, then the Polaris. If not the Polaris, then our captain. Do you know, Captain, I would follow you with your decisions here. But you have asked for my feedback, and this is it.
I don't want to make enemies on the behalf of the Polaris. That is not something I wish to willingly endanger any of you with. Tibble kind of gestures over, I guess, to where the father and the disciples have gone to, and waves them back over.
You have had your discussions. Okay.
The only thing we can guarantee to you at this stage is the return of your mentor.
That is all we ask. That is all we can expect.
Now, with that confirmed, do you have recommendations of places we can get perhaps certain provisions or anything that may assist in our journey?
Okay, so instead of RPing that all out, they'll give you an idea of anywhere that you can, basically any mundane supplies, any magical components. There's nowhere to buy magic items other than if you've got some coin to burn. There are some smiths that work with mithril, but beyond that there's no magic items for purchase. But there are magical reagents and spell components and the like.
So Rue kind of with a bit of purpose strides off in the direction that most of the others have gone into, where there's places where, you buy things and stuff like that. And Rue kind of finds somewhere that just looks like might be a general goods store, like an apothecary or something like that. And they kind of poke their head in, wait for the inevitable, there's a very tall person peeking into here, and it's like, hello there, do you sell weed?
What kind of weeds are you talking about?
Oh, yes, you get my meaning. Plants. Back home most plants were weeds, you see. I am trying to curate things that I can use in medicines and to calm others mostly. I can pay gold if you wish, or trinkets. I am trying to curate sort of a hobby and also to practice my medicine. And while the others are off having crisis of the conscience or feeling emotional about things they might not previously have been, and sort of picking and choosing what morality they wish to apply, I would like to go and buy some plants. Do you have any? I've seen much plants around here. They look very beautiful. My name is Rue Friday, by the way.
Pleasure to meet you. I am Coral Bone.
Coral Bone. It is wonderful to meet you. You have a beautiful complexion, if I may say so.
Yes, thank you. So they just run you through a sort of beginner's smattering of different plants and weeds. Yeah.
Very excitedly purchases it.
Yeah, probably.
However many gold they charge.
Yeah, probably sets you back about 20 gold.
Have 30. Enjoy. This has been the most delightful interaction. May I ask, does everyone here worship Shovnish?
Not everyone, but there's decent representation of that faith here.
What do they appear to look like? I saw carvings on the temple. Is it sort of a multiple arms and eyes and cube-like?
Yes.
I see. Then I have also been visited by them. That has nothing to do with weeds. Thank you very much. I appreciate this. You have been most helpful.
I appreciate
and
business.
And it gives me much to think about. And then Rue sort of bows their head down very low, and very chippily just trots off with their little bundle of underwater kelp and stuff like that, I guess.
Mitch, the thing that you messaged me about, 5 gold. Everyone goes around, makes their purchases, does what they need to do, and I guess regroups at the end of the process. Probably met back by Mayor Karras. Says, I trust you were able to find everything that you needed easily enough.
We were, yes. Thank you very much.
We will provide you with a map that should help you make your way to the temple. It shouldn't be...
It would be much appreciated.
I take it you have either people or the means even to delve into the temple once you reach it.
We were thinking swimming, mostly. Unless you have a better suggestion.
Well, that does bring up a good question, actually. Is there a mode of transportation around here? I've heard of these sea horses.
Seahorses would not be the greatest to ride. They are quite small.
So they are not the stallions of the sea?
No, they are named for their horse-like heads, not...
Oh, my mistake. Well, what... Do you just swim everywhere, or...?
Mostly, yes. We do have some ships if we need to go further afield, but...
I guess we'll have to take our chances, either swimming or with the luck of the orcas. Apologies to you, folk that are less swimmy than myself and dear Fishman. This may be a little bit of a hike, but we'll try and make it as accommodating as we can.
Before we leave, Fishman will, scuttle over to our friend and just quickly whisper, could you quickly perhaps draw what a seahorse looks like? Just real quick, and, hopefully with no one noticing, and then once he has what he wants, he's gone.
Okay. Yeah, he draws you a seahorse, and...
Fishman now has purpose. Find this legendary seahorse.
Thank you for your hospitality. We shall be on our way. We'll head back to the ship and set sail until we're above the temple, just to ease length of travel for those of us who are less formidable with swimming.
Of course. I wish you the best of luck with your endeavor.
Thank you for your weed.
Right.
We head back to the ship.
Yes.
It's probably going to be almost nightfall by the time you reach the location of the temple. Maybe a little earlier if you've got good wind. So it's going to be pretty dark down there, night or day. As far as you're aware, there's you don't know much of there being any bioluminescence down there. You don't see, as darkness is starting to fall, any sort of faint bits of light bleeding up at all.
I believe that we should commence our journey as soon as possible. Do we have any objections to starting tonight?
This is the action we have decided to take, then we might as well go.
Okay, go we shall. And Thibault, as he is about to dive into the water, he actually draws his starseer cutlass. When it unsheaths, a bright, shining moonlight starts radiating from it at about 15 feet. And he will dive in first to lead the way.
Neris also casts water breathing on everyone before that happens.
Oh yes, yes. That's probably
using a spell slot, not the scroll.
Yes.
Also, before Alton goes in as well, Fishman will approach them and quickly say, "You mentioned that there are some of us who have difficulty swimming, or are not quite as adept as others. Perhaps I could offer something?
Certainly. But what are you proposing? I think it's more the amount of swimming required than the swimming itself.
Fishman will point his palm towards the water with a little bit of light emanating down his arm and to the palm of his hand. And from the water, with a bit of a glow, will emerge quite a large, considering its original size, quite a large sea stallion, a seahorse, if you will, reimagined from the drawing that was given to him earlier. And just for extra flavor, this one will have spines along its body as well, just to make it look cool. And again, this is quite large. It is small, but considering it's a seahorse, it's large.
So this is the summon beast spell?
This is summon beast. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So it's not big enough to use as a mount, but it's probably big enough that it can probably. Oh, it has enough strength that it can help, and you're in light armor, Alton, so it has enough strength that it can kind of pull you along.
Wow, that's quite the creature.
Yes, I've just found about it. It's actually quite interesting. I believe this is what they drew. Anyways, regardless, hopefully this helps. Can I ask a favor? Do you have a light by any chance?
A light?
Are you able to do fire?
He points at his face where the he's turned his dark shades. He's made them into goggles. He's it's not really my specialty.
That is okay. I believe I might know someone who does have one. Rue.
Rue's head kind of swivels around a bit. Yes.
You mentioned weed earlier. Do you happen to have a way to make fire? Perhaps a light?
Oh, of course I do.
Excellent. Do you mind? As he holds out his candle.
Yeah, alright. So Rue kind of extends their arm blade. And I know this is stupid, but they're gonna cast Searing Smite. So just light up the blade and then extend it out very carefully and very gingerly towards Fishman for it. It's a 13, so fine.
I would say very good use of it.
As
considering
the young crew say, blaze it.
Considering the nature of this candle.
And then they kind of just stare beakishly down, owlishly down at Fishman and also Alton, is that all you required?
Yes, that was all. Also, if you do require a little bit of additional assistance with swimming down, feel free to use Tucker down there. As Tucker does a little bit of a swirl in the water.
Tucker is beautiful.
He is a sea stallion. They are quite graceful.
What a creation.
And then Fishman will dive off the ship following Tibble with a... Fishman sucks at diving. I believe that is a 5.
That is also quite beautiful in its own way.
For the record, Tibble rolled a 23 for his dive check, so he unsheaths this beautiful, stunning moonlight blade and then dives in, does this little sort of spin and then dives in smoothly.
Neris casts mage armor on himself and climbs down using the ladder because he's not weird, and then just lowers himself into the water and swims down. And we'll also use the shape water cantrip just to give him a little bit of a push along to make swimming a little bit easier.
Okay. Alright, so as you all swim down towards the temple, readying yourself for the mission ahead of you, however you are approaching it, that's where we're going to leave it for this week. Thank you for listening, folks.
See you next week, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this semi-shopping episode, and let us know what you think.
Shopping and lore.
yes, hopefully we'll get through this next water level. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful week.
Yes.
Bye.
Yeah, you go.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
It's understandable. Minecraft is
It's for
it'll get you.